short for culture. Wise man once told me that. Wise man, well, he once said, he didn't tell me that personally, but he was happened to be speaking on cult and, the fascination of our people with cults. Dr. York said that. He said, cult is just short for culture. Right? And the reason for me playing that song, Circle, by Shaka Khan, made back in the 70s. Reason for me playing that, the old favorite of mine, is because, it fits in perfectly with what I'm talking about tonight. Cult. And how they revolve in a circle. How they are based on ritual. How they are based on things of the past, philosophies of the past, things of that nature. We follow cults in the society. It seems to be a fascination that we have today that was created in America. This idea of the word cult, strange groups, and things popping up, different philosophies and different ideologies that are painted to look evil and suspect and weird, strange rituals and things of that nature. So we have a fascination. We look, we've been made to look at groups that may have a different philosophy, a different ideology, from that which you are used to as a cult. And there's a reason for that. And we're going to talk about that tonight in the definition of what is the definition of a cult. I am the intellectual Nuben Menkares, and this is State of Mentel Radio. And tonight, the definition of a cult. Because as I said, this word and the hysteria that was created around this word cult by American pop culture, which is also a cult. It was done for a reason, because a lot of people in this society who didn't necessarily agree with the ways of the society started to think on their own, started to do things on their own, develop groups and movements, based on their own philosophies and ideologies. And, they were labeled by certain media outlets, certain people that control the media, certain people that use the media to mentally implant things in the minds of the people. These people were referred to, who had these ideas that were independent of American culture, American pop culture. They were referred to as cults, as dangerous groups that, that practice strange rituals. You see them all the time. And they even jumped across internationally where they saw cults, what you call cults in Africa. You saw cults in Europe. You saw anything that differed in philosophy and ideology from American pop culture was referred by the American leaders and the people who uphold the society as a cult. Something that you can't trust, a group that you can't trust. The leaders were always painted to look crazy. The leaders, were painted to look psychotic. They came up with neat little titles, and they even came up with a definition for cult. They came up with a whole science on it and whatnot. They do documentaries on cults, and what to look for and when you see a cult, and you got Negroes that jumped on this whole cult hysteria. So-called conscious people, so-called people who's supposed to know better, supposed to understand how this society works when it's dealing with people who think outside the box. That's basically how they define a cult in the society. People who think outside the box, people who are not necessarily in agreement with that which is what goes along in this society. Black people do it all the time. You tell black people something that doesn't go along with religion, that doesn't go along with their philosophies and things of that nature. Right away they're looking at you and they've already had this mindset of a cult mentality implanted in them. And I've heard the conscious people, the so-called people who talk about how this society is evil and twisted. They use the word cult now. So they've been implanted. So how can I seriously look at you and what you represent, and then you talk about this society and how messed up this society is and controlling people, and then you use a terminology like cult without even investigating what a cult is? Our people were not able to put two and two together and figure out that the word cult just meant culture. Pan-Africanism would be considered a cult because the Pan-Africanists talk about culture all the time. They talk about past culture and traditions and things like that. And, you know, by definition of the word cult, they would be one. So all you Pan-Africanists are in a cult. You people in the church and religion, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, y'all a cult. By the virtue of the fact that your beliefs are based on culture and tradition. Some sort of tradition, some sort of past event or happening that took place that made you repeat this in a ritual. Anything that you do in a ritual or anything that you consider a special ritual, aka something spiritual, puts you in the box of belonging to a cult. So for you spiritual people who sit up here and say, oh, I'm not, that sounds crazy. I don't belong in no cult because I'm in Christianity. Yeah, you do. You have a Christian culture. Cult is short for culture. You follow a certain ritual, a special rituals, a prayer and things of that nature, so you're a part of a cult. You don't think you're a part of a cult. Reason being is because this society, right, they do something when it comes to those cults and who they decide the cults, who they label cults and who they don't label cults. They call it sanctioned cult. They sanction certain cults to practice here. Cults that go, or cultures that go along with their way of thinking. So therefore, you won't be labeled a cult if you go along with this society's way of thinking, as long as you don't go against the grain of American pop culture, which is a cult. You 99%ers who go to work every day, pay your taxes and do all this thing. I'm not saying nothing wrong with that. Pay your taxes, go to work, do what you do. But don't be fooled into the fact that you're also part of a cult as well. I had this Negro tell me today, because we gave him a flyer for the Supermen, Superwomen project, that he says to me, I'm not part of any of these groups or things of that nature. I'm totally disconnected from all of this. I'm not part of any of the mindsets of this society. I said, really? I said, don't you know you're not the first person I heard say that? So if you're not the first person I heard say that, if you're telling me that you're totally, you don't deal with materialism, that you don't class thing, and you're not part of any class, you understand? You're full of it because you live in America. You out there with your tables set up and you selling things. So you're part of a class. You're paying taxes. You're in America. If you got like at least 5 or 10 or more people doing what you're doing, they have a special section or box checked off for you people who are not society-driven people who are not monetary-driven people. They have a special box checked off for you. So you're a part of a cult. Your thinking is cult or cultural, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, because it follows a certain ritual. You work within a box in this society, in a vacuum. Everything in this society, everything that is ingrained in this society is based on cult teaching or culturistic teaching. How you're programmed every day is based on the cult ritual. You understand? They tell you, that when you're in a cult, that you're programmed to think a certain way, and you sit up and and they tell you to go along with everything, and you have to be part of this, and you have to be part of that, and you simply and simple-minded Negroes who watch it. You watch these documentaries that they do on cults and stuff like that. Whether they did the Heaven's Gate people, and they did what's the guy Jim Jones, not the Negro, not the rapper, but the white Jim Jones, the real Jim Jones. Y'all sat there and y'all was like, Yeah, that's a cult. I know a cult when I see one. You'll even try to call certain black groups cult. You understand? Because you sat up there and you was thoroughly brainwashed because, you know, there was nothing when these programs were going into your mind, there was obviously nothing there to slow it down to make you think. There was nothing, your brain was cut off. You just accepted the good slave, and you believed without even thinking about it. Oh, cult. I know what a cult is. When they describe how you're programmed in a cult to think a certain way, wouldn't that be the same thing as when you sit yourself in front of a TV and you're watching and they're telling you to buy this, buy that, purchase this, purchase that. You women, y'all buy bags and things like that, and you do certain things. You shop a certain way. You obey things like Mother's Day and Christmas and things like that, and you do things systematically. That's a cult ritual. That's programmed in the people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Every single second, you're being programmed in a cult status. You're being programmed to follow a certain mindset. That's cult control. That's cultural control. Pop cultural control. You cannot effectively run a society without pushing a cult teaching, at least not current society. This is how current society works. You all go a certain place. You all pray at a certain time. You all believe a certain thing. That's within the framework of this society. So therefore, you're following a cult. Don't think that your Pan-Africanism and your Egyptology and your metaphysics and your Masonry and your metaphysics and your Moorish science, whatever you study, is not part of the American framework. So if it's part of the American framework, then you're in a cult. You're in a sanctioned cult. That's their way of saying it's okay to practice what you practice because it's within the framework. You understand? Anything outside the framework that's not based on culture, that's not based on past things, is not a cult. What we do in the state of Mentel would not be considered a cult because we're not based in past traditions and past customs. We're not based in cultural traditions and customs. We're not. We're focused on future intelligence. So we couldn't be considered a cult. We're not a culture. We're an intelligent society. Forward-thinking people. I made sure that ritualistic practices, weird practices and things like that would not be a part of the state of Mentel purposely because I did not want us being defined as we grow into a cult. Simple-minded Negroes that do that because y'all been programmed. You can't really think on your own. All it takes is some white man or some news show or some news report to point, here it is. You probably was listening and you found what we were saying to be right and exact. Then all of a sudden the news program got to come on and, they'll say something about us being a cult, whatever. Call us a cult, refer to us as a cult. And then you niggas go, oh, yeah, maybe I think they are a cult. Because you program to cut on and think like remote mind control Negro. You cut on and think what they tell you to think, associate things with what they tell you to associate things with, and you run with that. You had people that were with Dr. York for years, right? And when people referred to, and knew he was teaching with truth and dropping the knowledge, then when, the greater populace and the media referred to the organization as a cult, the movement as a cult, you had Negroes, well, maybe it is a cult. You had simple-minded Negroes that did that. When they accused them of, the molestation thing or whatever, you had simple-minded Negroes that believed that. Because you're programmed to believe certain things. You still got a slave mentality. You have a cult mentality. You have a cultish mentality that vibrates on a submental state. That's why when things go into your head like that, you're automatically triggered not to think about it. You just accept it as the truth. That's how you were able to accept story in religion You were able to accept stories about people living on clouds and white people with wings on their back. You accepted that because that was part of your programmed cult teaching. Everything you 99%, the people that follow everything in this society, everything that you believe from the past millennium is based in the cult ritual or cult teaching. All of it. So by virtue of the fact that you may think you're not in a cult, you are in a cult. It's called American pop culture, popular culture, pop society. What do you think it is? Pop culture. You follow a cult. You don't think on your own. All the things. Look up the word cult. Look up what they tell you a cult is. See if it don't go hand in hand with this society and how they program you in TV and things like that. See if it don't go that. See if it's not really the exact same thing. Programmed to think a certain way. You told to live for this and live for that and this, that, and the third. You done the same way. It's just that those who are sanctioned, those who go along with the go along, they're okay to teach and do. They're given the green light to teach. But if you don't go along with how things are, then you're called a cult. And heaven help you if you got land somewhere and you operating on a certain principle, you understand, and with your people, you will receive a visit from certain agencies, government agencies, and they will shut you down. That will happen. You have Negroes who vibrate on that frequency that will help. You understand? Even if you're trying to better the minds of the people and advance the minds and the thinking of the people, you're interrupting governmental procedure, meaning you're interrupting the mind control that they have in procession, that they have in movement. You're interrupting that. But see, as long as you got Negroes in the Bible, in the Quran, and these things they think is, that's not part of this society. This society, it's right along with this society. It's right along with it. Your past teachings fall into cult status. They fall right into American pop culture. You understand? That's why you are allowed to practice that. See, we practice, we teach what we teach because we're not practicing anything. We're perfecting ourselves. That's what the difference in the state of MENTELLECT is. We're not practicing anything. We're definitely not practicing culture. You understand? We're not practicing ritual. We're perfecting MENTELLECT, meaning we perfect our minds and our thinking in a precision, in a speed, speeding up our intelligence, not based in cults and cultural and tradition, because we've outgrown that. It's done nothing but produce a childlike mentality in the minds of our people. That's the truth. We don't think. We don't think beyond our cult teachings. You don't understand why you even do the things you do. Just follow willingly. That's cult teaching, right? Traditions and customs. Cult teaching. You got people, like I said, you look at all the things that you teach, all the things, like I said, from religion, to metaphysics, to Pan-Africanism and whatnot, you'll see that it fits exactly in as a sanctioned belief. Let me give you an example. Now, if the Catholic Church, let's say, people can call that a cult because it's based on cultural things from the past, ritual, right? If a black man set up a group, right, or anybody set up a group that wasn't sanctioned, because this is a Judeo-Christian society. So that means when they call it a Judeo-Christian society, that means that Judaism and Christianity is sanctioned here. It's not a Judeo-Christian Islamic society. Though, you can practice it because it goes along with the Bible and in line with the Bible. But if, it's not really, like I said, it's more of a sub cult thing, cultural thing, the Islam. This is basically a Judeo-Christian society, right? So if somebody comes and they set up a group and they doing circumcision and they, take off the boy's foreskin or whatever, and they suck on the boy's penis like they do in the Jewish custom, the moils and whatnot. You see this all on YouTube. They suck into the Jewish moils. They're sucking the little baby's penis, the boy's penis, to suck the blood out when they do the cut. Now, if somebody who wasn't part of the sanctioned culture or the cult did that, that would be considered a pedophilia, right? But because these people who practice this custom or ritual are part of the sanctioned culture, it's not. It's lawful. It's okay. Same act, but you're not sanctioned to do that. Man says that. Law says that. You have to be practicing your culture, a.k.a. your cult teaching, within this frame and in this box. And you all do that. You do it every day. You ain't thinking outside the box. By virtue of the fact that you think within a space, within a box, you're studying cult teaching. You understand? You study cult teaching. You're programmed to think in a cult-like mentality. Right? Sanctioned cult versus those who are unsanctioned. People who are getting you to think a certain way, whether it's in a unified way that's not in line with what goes on here, versus those people who get you to think beyond that. Think outside the box. That's why I call those people a cult, but it don't fit. The title just don't fit. So if the title don't fit, you got to quit. My little Johnny Cochran phrase for me, I'm being funny. But it just doesn't fit. People are growing beyond these spiritual and special rituals and this inbox teaching. People are growing beyond that. You know, a lot of our people aren't growing beyond that, but that's the thing. People will always fight against you, against anyone who starts to think outside the box. Anyone who starts to think outside the box. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not sticking up for any of these cult-like groups and whatnot, like your Jim Jones and all these other people. I'm not sticking up for them people. You know, I mean, you know, in principle, Jim Jones, he was just basically trying to set up his own little society and go to Guyana and things like that and do what he did. I don't know the ins and outs of his group. I don't understand that. I don't know anything about them. I'm not interested in that. It was all based in Christianity and whatever. But he went a little bit beyond the box. So he was labeled a cult. That's why he got up out this country. He went to Guyana and set up what he set up. Because he didn't want to be in the confines of the American borders and being, you know, that he was trying to teach something independently. He didn't want to be against the, he didn't want to go against the boundaries of, he wanted to go beyond the borders and the boundaries of what he was allowed to teach because he knew he was going to get problems. That's with anybody. Anybody that tries to think outside the box or set up a group that thinks outside the box, you're going to get a problem. You're going to be considered a threat in certain circles because anybody who tries to get people to think beyond certain ways, they might be considered a problem to the people who are narrow-minded, who are small-minded, who think inside of a box. But in all actuality, person who thinks on a higher level, that's actually good for society because it speeds up. As your thinking is speeding up, people's thinking will gradually speed up. You understand? But then again, those people who are interested in keeping people slow mentally, like these people do within your religions and things like that, with your black religious leaders and your black philosophical teachers and all these people and so-called educated Negroes do. They're interested in slowing down your natural intelligence. They don't want you to really think. They want to educate you. They do that. That's cult-style teaching. You understand that? In school, when they teach you philosophy and things like that, that's cult-style teaching. Some of your first cults were in Greece. They want to say Egypt. They wanted to call them cults, and somewhat, because they were based on culture. But philosophy was bred in Greece. Some of your greatest philosophical people come out of Greece. And what are your philosophical people? They BS artists. People, the black man loves to say, "Oh man, the philosophers come out of Egypt. The great philosophers come out of Egypt." No, there was no philosophers in Egypt because there were thinkers in Egypt. When we made references and statements in our cultures and our customs or whatever you want to refer to it in our groups, we made statements that dealt with life and made sense. There was a reason for our statements. Whereas in the Greeks and the Romans, they made statements that were based on abstract things. Basically things that came from them. Now, if they were off their rocker, they were a little crazy, and they put these thoughts into existence, even though they might have took some of it from our people or wherever and formulated their own philosophy and put it out amongst the people. That was the start of cult teaching. They want to say that Uncle Anton, they said I hear it when they talk about ancient Egypt. They said Uncle Anton had the art. He taught about the Aten, which was a cult, because he went outside the box in the teaching of Amun and the Amun priest. So they considered what he was teaching to be a cult, right? Because he went outside the box. So same thing happens here. Same thing happens here. They set their same society up the way Egypt set up their society. There will be no tolerance for people who think outside the box. You're frowned upon if you think outside the box, even amongst Negroes. If you're not talking about metaphysics or religion or the established cult teachings that Negroes are used to following, that society pushes here, where you can go and buy books on these things, and Negroes consume information when it's doing nothing but actually plaguing their mind. If you're not consuming information, cult information, whether it's on masonry, whether it's on Egyptology, whether it's on metaphysics or whatever, because that's all cult teaching to get you to think a certain way, to limit your way of thinking. If you're going beyond that, then you're a problem. They put these books here, and like I said, it cracks me up when black people do that. They'll sit up here and be like, "Oh yeah, brother, ain't nothing new under the sun, and, ain't nothing new, ain't nothing new coming from under the sun." None of that stuff. That's a cult teaching. How it's a cult teaching? Because what that does when you say that, because the Negroes adopted that from the white man and his philosophy. That came from it. There's nothing new under the sun. When you adopt that philosophy, what that was meant to do was to close your mind off to the possibility of something new. So therefore, when something does come to you, you close your mind to it. You understand? Could that be why black men are not doing things on a greater level now? Why black women aren't? Why are we not bringing new inventions and new ways of thinking, new technology? Because we closed our mind and basically simplified our way of thinking around a certain ritual and a certain circle of systematic nonsense, simplicity. Because we said there's nothing new for me, I'm just living my life, and that's it. We don't look for things to spark our interest in our intelligence anymore. The biggest thing that sparks your interest in intelligence, you black women, the average black woman, is a damn purse set or a pair of shoes or the next event you can go to socialize. That's the biggest thing that sparks your interest. Or some information that's really not going to help you. It's going to do nothing but load you down with a cult-like way of thinking. Closes your mind. Doesn't open you up anymore. You're supposed to seek out knowledge or intelligence, not information. Forget information. Information is adulterated forms of intelligence. That's what your information is. It's like massive garbage that just occupies space in your mind that you can't utilize. This massive garbage, like fat. That's what your information. Intelligence is light, is future guidance. Things that you can actually process and utilize. You understand? Get your brain moving. There's a difference between intelligence and information. Information is what cults put forward. Even this American culture. You understand? That's what they put forward, information, to keep you in a cult-like way of thinking. Intelligence is light, power. They want to keep the intelligence away from the black man and the black woman. So they push information. They push cult information to educate you, to get you to think in a certain circle and a mind frame, like I said, which is why I played that song Circles, because you think in a rotation, in a groove. Cult status. In the state of Mentel, we don't think in a circle. We think in a line. We start where there's no point of return. We pick up where we left off. And in what we do and what we elevate our minds to, intelligence-wise, there is no stop point. There is no end point in Mentellect. That is knowledge that has no point of return, no circle. Circles are how cult teachings are promoted. Go look up the word cult and see how closely the associations with it mesh along with what you receive in this society, your education. I'm not talking about, now I'm not down on education, don't get me wrong. Technical things you could learn, like medicine, architecture, things like that. But when they start talking about things like philosophy, because they make sure it seems like you have to take a philosophy class, a history class, where they're more or less formulating your ways of thinking. I'm not talking about technical things you can actually learn something from. Because they put you through hell in college to get intelligent by giving you a whole lot of information. I'm going to say it again. They put you through hell in college to get intelligence. What is the intelligence in college? The technical knowledge. You understand? By giving you a whole bunch of information. They load you down with it to discourage you. You ever sat there and you said, why the hell I got to read a book on philosophy or whatever that don't interest me? And I'm studying this. I'm trying to take up medicine. I'm trying to take up dentistry. Why I got to learn that? Shouldn't I just be focused on dentistry and medicine instead? Why do I have to learn that? Done to get you thinking in a cult-like manner. Also to discourage you. Because your mind can only take but so much information piled in it, stored in it. You want to get, when you in college, you want to get right to the meat of why you're there to study. And that's how it should be. You should be there to study medicine. You should be there to study technical things, things that are going to get your mind rotated. They make sure they keep you away from that. And they push information in front of you. They push cult teachings in front of you to get you to think in a rotation, philosophy, psychology, black study, Pan-African American studies, or whatever the crap they teach you. You understand? Whatever flunky nonsense you go, and they make it easy for you to get a degree. That's why y'all go for it, because we know our people don't like, the majority of our people don't like to think. We thinking is too hard for our people, so we take the easy way out, just so we can get a goddamn piece of paper on the wall. That's the reality. We ain't going to challenge ourselves. The average black man, black woman ain't going to challenge themselves and go take up medicine or go take up science or go take up things like that. So whenever I see how people taking up architecture or agricultural engineering, things like that, things that have really nothing to do with these people and their philosophy. It has to do with you just getting in the earth, you just digging into a body, you seeing how things work. It has nothing to do with them. See, when you deal with that knowledge, that's God knowledge. Intelligence, God knowledge. Supreme, Amen, being knowledge. Higher knowledge. Technical knowledge is God knowledge. Information, cult teaching is mankind. And you are under mankind teaching. Understand that. We'll be right back.
Good morning, Detroit.
The biggest cult that they currently promote in the society is the hip-hop cult, a.k.a. the hip-hop culture. Biggest cult they promote amongst the young. Right? That's the biggest cult. Didn't Russell Simmons refer to hip-hop as a culture? Right? A.k.a. cult. To get people to think in a systematic way. When you put your energy into these entertainers, when you worrying about their lives and what they doing, and you all caught up in that mindset of focusing on that, focusing your mental energy on these people, on these so-called celebrities, you create a cult-like following. What did they call a group? Cult. You have a cult-like following, right? That's what they refer to it as, right? A cult-like following, group of people. You understand that? Caught up or mystified or mentally connected in some way, or some people that's under a certain mind frame to follow, right? But then again, that's not even a cult, somewhat, because like I said, it's based in the ritual. Cults are based in the ritual. Hip hop became a ritual. You understand, with the evolution of the microphone, the block party, things like that. So as time went on, it got to a certain point where Russell Simmons and them were able to call it a culture. They had to create a culture or a cult for you young black people to follow. To take your mind basically out of the whole Pan-African, to take your mind to the whole cultural thing that you was doing in the past. They wanted to create an American culture or an American pop culture for you to follow. So they created hip hop for you. Right? That's a cult. Hip hop is a cult. Y'all, what is you people in the so-called hip hop culture? Even though y'all say y'all not, a lot of y'all been affected by that mental disease, the hip hop culture. That's why y'all can't stop wearing the goddamn Yankee baseball caps and the ugly Nike sneakers and all that come with it. The jeans, just the black man. If he see another black man dressed in a suit or whatever or a certain way, he looking at you like, what you going, like the young cat, what y'all going to court? You going to funeral? You going to get married? That's a cult-like teaching. They have a groove and a rotation in these people's minds. And what is that cult, like that hip-hop cult that was established in this American society? What was it done? What was it established to do? See, because all cults are established to do something. What was it established to do among black people in that generation who grew up on hip-hop? It was meant to produce a childlike mentality. And it did. That's why you got grown men in their 40s and 50s still dressing like they 16 and 17. That's a cult status. Remember the white undershirt thing? You always see that in the summertime, the white cotton tees, oily black men wearing white cotton tees. You understand? That's a cult status that a lot of these guys are doing in the hip hop. How much money did Hanes or those white T-shirt companies make off of Negro? See, because the hip hop culture produced billions of dollars for white manufacturers who made the sneakers, made the baseball caps, things like that. You understand? They produce billions of dollars for that. They make billions off of that. Just for pushing the hip hop culture, pushing the music, giving a rhythm to or a soundtrack to the life of people to get them to think in a cult like follow, to go to certain concerts, shows, and buy music and stuff like that. However, that cult is dying out somewhat. So what they did was they mixed a lot of the old rock. They used a lot of the old rock cult, because they had the music cult going for the white kids in the 70s, the rock music. Now they're mixing that with hip hop now. That's why if you look at a lot of these young guys now, they look like how the white rocker kids was looking in the 70s and the 80s. Skinny ass jeans, tattoos all over their goddamn self. You understand? They're like a bunch of white kids. They're like a bunch of white rocker kids from the 80s. Lil Wayne, they brought that style, like tight ass pants, tattoos, all over, riding skateboard. You understand? The so-called hip hop now sound like damn near like rock music. The music all sound the same, and it's rhythmless. That's to produce a cult-like follow, a rhythmless cult-like follow, and it's happening in the younger generation because they don't like the music they listen to is garbage, but it's done to create a soulless cult-like people amongst the younger generation, and it's working. Listen to the music; it sounds dumber and dumber. You understand? You're like, damn, the record industry, they used to produce good music, and they was into music. Now it's all about producing a lower mentality. It's about lowering the mentality of the people to produce a cult-like follow, and that's what's happening. The pants hanging down, all that's to produce a cult-like follow amongst the younger generation. When you Negroes sit up in, your schools, like I said, you study your philosophy and you taking all this thing, that's a cult-like following that's being produced in your educational system. you accepting the homosexuality. That's a cult-like following being produced in the society to follow that way of thinking, to limit your way of thinking, to get you to keep you staying within a box. See, because they can't come up with things to constantly keep you in the box. Because after a while, the box gets overfilled and you start thinking outside the box. That's what we did when MENTELLECT came from beyond the sun. This new knowledge that we teaching in the state of MENTELLECT came from beyond the sun. You have some Negroes that go, oh, there ain't nothing new under the sun. Like I said, they cult-like teaching came out. They brainwashed cult-like teaching came out. Ain't nothing new under the sun. Because they've been brainwashed by their cult teaching to believe that no black man can bring anything that is on a higher level. That's what the majority of you black people think. You have that ingrained in your mind as part of your cult-like teaching, as part of your cult-like education, that the only person that can bring something higher or something of higher intelligence is the white man, or the only people that can bring something on a spiritual level now is the East Indian. That's why you read all these dumb books by these people. That's why you taking all this information. You information junkies then. The majority of you are not able to think outside this cult-like education and mentality that you receive. And this is the battle. This is the battle that only a few are going to survive. Because mindless zombies are only made by way of cult-like teaching to produce a certain limited way of thinking that keeps you in a popular culture. Black people look to follow things within the popular culture and the populace. You understand? They don't look to step outside certain things. Well, like I said, when we introduced the Supermen, Superwomen project, it caught the attention of our people because we use familiar images. Supermen and Superwomen. The movie. But it resonated and made a connection outside the box, because the whole idea of a Superman and a Superwoman and advancing in intelligence is a way of moving beyond the cult way of thinking, the cultish way of thinking. Because people in the cult are ignorant. Look at the people in religion. They're ignorant. They believe people living on clouds. They believe in something called spiritual power, magic. Magic is a terminology that is used to confuse people. There's no such thing as magic. I hear Negroes with this magic talk. You know what magic is? Things that they say, that you don't know how to do this thing. It's nothing but knowledge that you're not privy to. Like, for example, if I went back in a certain time, 300-400 years ago, and I struck fire out of a lighter, they would call that magic. Certain knowledge that people have on a higher level that's beyond yours, you call it magic. That's a childlike terminology. There's no such thing as magic. There's higher intelligence. There's higher knowledge that 9 times out of 10 you will not reach, because you were taught to think in a cult-like mindset, in a box. You're not trained to think outside the box and look to something high, especially black people. Especially our people, the white men, they'll look outside the box. They'll try. The majority of them will try. You understand? They always looking to advance their way of thinking. Why you think, like I said, back in the 60s, they allowed Malcolm X to come to Harvard University? This when he was in the Nation of Islam. They allowed him to come there and speak. Why? Because the people that are bred in these Ivy League schools, they're trained to be the leaders of tomorrow. You understand? They're the ones who are going to program the rest of the society to think in a cult-like setting, in a cult-like following. So they want to learn everything, all the philosophies, ideologies, and teachings in society. That's why they allowed Malcolm X to come there, because they were studying him like a lab rat. A lot of these Negroes think, it was a big thing when Malcolm he was teaching at Harvard. They were studying him like a lab rat. They were studying Nation of Islam teachings like a lab rat, and looking at him like a lab rat. Because that's how the white men, the powers that be, not your everyday white people, not your everyday, white people. They like the rest of you black people. They think in a cult like status too. of the American populace. I'm talking about the people sitting in the Ivy League school, the ones who are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. They look to study everything. They look beyond this society. They think internationally. They look to study. They look outside for higher intelligence. They look to acknowledge and take a look into everything to see if they can utilize it, to see if they can make sure they can understand it, and look how they can flip it in the future against the people, to turn it into a cult-like status, to exploit it. That's done purposely. Everything how information is dispensed to you is in a cult-like setting, in a cult-like rotation. That's why they were able to come up with the word cult, because they know how they dispense information to you is the same way, but on a broader scale. Through the media, through the magazines, through the newspaper. Everything is based on a cult-like rotation. In these books, in your philosophy books, in your educational system, everything is produced in a cult-like setting. Only a small percentage of what they teach in these school systems is based on higher technology that they make sure they keep you away from. Like I said, that's the experimental knowledge. That's the knowledge that's outside the box. That's beyond cult teaching. Medicine is beyond cult teaching. It only starts falling into the cult teaching when the pharmaceutical groups get involved and they start creating medicine that's going to tear you up. But when you start getting into things like, especially people like what Dr. Sabi and them do, you start getting into the body and how it works and medicine and things, and dealing with what they call science, which is really a lie, because the white man really don't have he doesn't understand the working science on anything, because everything is in an evolutionary state. He'll tell you that he understands the science on how the human body works. He doesn't totally understand how our body works yet. We still a work in progress, and he's studying us. You understand? Because we have an evolving and a different genetic makeup than everybody else. They lie to our people and tell us, and that's part of the cult teaching too. They lie to our people and tell us we all the same, we got the same blood, we got the same this, that's part of the cult teaching. That's a lie. They tell you that just to get you to think like them. And it works on you Negroes all the time. That's why you can accept things in religion. By virtue of the fact, that don't even make sense, that we all got the same kind of blood and respiratory system, our system is totally the same. You know how that's false? Because as I said, how you look on the outside is dictated by what's going on the inside. So if I don't look the same my hair is different, my skin is different, all that, obviously you don't possess the same things I possess on the inside. Something different is going on in my genetic makeup, in my DNA. Something different is going on than in yours. You understand that? But they don't teach you about that. You black men who go to school, go to medical school, you don't study the human genetic versus the almond genetic, or the so-called black genetic. I refer to it as the almond genetic because I said the black race is not part of the human race. It's another cult teaching that we part of the human race. Like I said, they do that all to get you to think in this we are the world mindset, and you Negroes fall for it all the time. So much so that whenever a black person starts speaking out against racism, or he don't necessarily agree with race mixing or whatever, you Negroes, you got certain simple-minded Negroes that call that black man a racist. You got simple-minded Negroes who've been brainwashed into a cult-like thinking to call you a racist. You understand? Purposely. Because they want to fit in. Because they're told they like everybody else. That's how you can get black women to put dead East Indian hair and Malaysian hair on their goddamn head, because they want to fit in. Because that's part of their cult-like teaching in this society, that you just like everybody else. So, in fact, they want to be like everybody else. They don't want to step outside the box and be who they naturally are, because that's against the cult teaching you receive here. That's against the American pop cultural teaching. The pop cultural teaching that you receive here, the pop cult teaching you receive here, everybody's the same. Y'all should all have the same hairstyle. You should look this way, and you black women go for it. Because you're in the box. You've been brainwashed by this American cult. Certain ones, you black women, like I said, y'all accept the whole interracial thing and whatnot because you've been brainwashed by the American pop culture. That's part of the cult teaching. Because once you start telling people they're the same, you're basically saying that you don't accept differences. By telling people the lie that they all the same, you're saying that you don't accept differences. That's why they come up with terms like racial tolerance. They don't like you. They're just tolerating your differences. You understand? Why would you come up with a term like racial tolerance if we was all the same? If we was all one race, the AKA human race? Obviously, we're not all the same race. If you feel as though you got to tolerate me because you don't like me because I'm different from you, then obviously you slipped. Obviously, you slipped outside the box. You admitted something that we're not the same. We're not part of the human race. You never heard that term being applied to the East Indians or the Asians or any of these other people about racial tolerance. It's always applied to the black man and black woman because you're the only one that's really different. You're a different species totally, but we fell for that. Even when we're looking in front of the mirror, we're looking at each other. We see our hair is growing up and everybody's just growing down. Our skin look different from everybody else. Our features look different. We move different. We vibrate on a different frequency. We dance different. They call us soul people. We do all this stuff that's different from everybody else, but then we turn around and go, we human. Or we the same. But you got certain Negroes still teaching that nonsense, that we the same as everybody else. Or that there's mankind over there and it's human. Human and mankind is the same thing. Artificial people. See that? This is outside the box teaching. We are almond beings. This is not cult teaching. This is higher intelligence. The reality of higher intelligence, change and advanced intelligence. That's reality. That's something they don't teach you in cult teaching. What they teach you in cult teaching is that there's nothing new under the sun, that everything works in a rotation, 360 degrees, a cipher. Even you black men teach that. And you think you're saying something deep because you got that from your cult teaching, a.k.a. from the white man and Freemason. It's all a bunch of garbage. We're supposed to vibrate on a high frequency in different and higher dimensions, in straight lines of evolution. To no point of return. Everybody's supposed to be following us, and we're supposed to be moving side by side in their rotation. We're supposed to be moving past everybody in our intelligence, as we once were before it was interrupted. But because you Negroes had your thorough brainwashing and your cult teaching, you understand, in your educational system, you can't hear that because you're still slaves. When they got you in bondage system, slavery, that was the birth of the cult teachings right there. That was of them giving you cult teachings. You understand? Teaching you to accept your condition, accept a white God. That's cult teachings right there. Accept that you know there's no heaven for you on earth until you die, but you're going to be here working for them forever in a rotation. They get you to accept your lot in life and never change that. And you accept it. You all accept that. That's cult teaching. That's cult teaching. We teach our people to think beyond or outside the box. You understand that? In the state of mental and the knowledge of mentellect. Because mentellect was not born here. The knowledge of mentellect is not from here. It's from beyond here. That's knowledge that's coming in to the elect in this day and time. I don't care how many of you people acknowledge it or you think, oh, ain't nothing new under the sun. Like I said, that's your cult teaching. We're not interested in what you think. We already know you niggas are mentally dead who say that. You understand? Like this, like I said, like the brain dead Negro I met today. He sat here and told me that, oh, brother, you know, I don't need. I know what I, you know, I'm not part of anything of these things that's going on here. Nigga, you sitting here selling stuff on the street. You making money. You part of this. You understand? You trying to make a living here. You obeying every day. You part of this. You in this thing. You don't think outside this thing. All your philosophies that you think are independent. You got books. You got white people and Negroes that don't wrote books full of nonsense on non-materialism and not being part of society and being a, you know, you part of it. That's all in the box. When you think you're thinking outside the box, no, you're not. You're inside the box. You didn't go anywhere. They got a whole list of Negroes and white people and Asian and people like that who talk about, oh, I'm not part of the class system. You are so part of the class system. I tell you what, if you don't believe you part of the class system, get your black ass caught outside this country. You understand? If you don't believe you part of this American system, nigga, like you say, get your black ass caught outside this country and somewhere, Arabia, somewhere, and they asking you where you from. You gonna be telling them, you gonna be going crying to the American embassy trying to get your black ass over to talking about you an American. Then you gonna be part of the class system, right? If somebody tells you, oh, they classify you, you check a thing on the thing on a job thing or whatever, they say what race are you? You gonna check black. That's part of a class system. What the hell are you talking about? You Negroes don't make no sense. The majority of our people don't make no sense whatsoever. But that's part of the cult teaching. It don't teach you to think. It teaches you. It doesn't teach you how. It doesn't teach you how to think or advance in your foot. It teaches you what to think. That's what cult teaching does. Well, the 1% is not a part of it. State of mentality. We're not part of it. We're not part of the cult teaching. Because MENTELLECT didn't come from here. It wasn't born here. That's why when I talk about MENTELLECT, people go, huh? Our people, white people, everybody. They go, huh? MENTELLECT is the only thing that's not part of the cult teaching. Because we're not based in culture, so you can't call it a cult. We're not based in the past. We're based in the future. We started in 2012, and we're going into the future. We're not based in that. So how can we not a cult? We're not based on a culture. We're not based in Pan-Africanism or Egyptology or beating on no goddamn drum. Only people who do that, that's cult teaching. We're not based in ritual. So we're not a cult. But like I said, to the majority of our people, you understand? Exactly. That's the solution. Supermen, Superwomen Project. That's right, Jet Rag. Supermen, Superwoman Project. Advanced thinking. It stands for the supermental projection. That's really what it's short for. Thinking outside the box, beyond the box. And that's taking place May 20th. May 20th, this Sunday coming up, May 20th. The Supermen, Superwomen Project. 1368 Fulton Street, Brooklyn, New York, at the Bed-Stuy Restoration Plaza. For information on, we posted all on the Facebook and things like that. So everybody who's listening in the earshot, give us a call at 347-465-3602. Okay? 347-465-3602 or 718-510-3769. Supermen, Superwomen Project, where we thinking outside the box, people. That's for the 1%ers, the ones who think outside the box, who don't want any more the cult teaching. Because believe it or not, whether you want to accept it or not, everything that you have ingested in this society is part of the cult teaching. MENTELLECT, and what we're teaching in the state of Mentel, is not. We'll be right back. When that whole Jim Jones thing went down, you had blacks out there in Guyana following him, and stuff like that. The fact that you even went and followed this white man even in Guyana, that's a cult teaching. That was a cult implantation in your mind. You got black people who are actually Mormon. You are trained in this constant rotation in this American pop culture to follow white people. Mindlessly look to them as authority, and you do it. You play your role all the time. It always worked. You understand that? It always works. You always play your part in the cult. The black people, they have a certain way of thinking in the society of powers that be because they have think tanks. They have think tanks that create these cults or sanction them. The Hare Krishnas and these East Indians and whatnot, they're sanctioned cults. These guys that run around Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, because it all goes on that Christ vibration, that East Indian Christ vibration, that submental vibration. The word Christos means, or Christ means anointed. All right? So even that, and putting that out there, even satanic worship is part of cult teaching. Right? They call it satanic worship or cult, but they sanctioned the file. They gave the Church of Satan in '66. Ronald Reagan gave the Church of Satan license to practice. That's sanctioned cult. Satanism, which is nothing but religion. They got a satanic Bible, and they make up all this crap. Just to be against religion, because it was really Satanism was really set up to scare people into religion. You have to create a polar opposite and bounce people back and forth. So you people that's in the satanic church or reading the satanic books, Yeah, y'all part of a religion too. Y'all part of a church. Y'all part of ritual. Y'all part of a cult too. Sanctioned cult. Y'all ain't deep. Y'all ain't thinking outside the box. You understand? Y'all trapped in the box too. You know, y'all neatly packed in the box. You older people, like I said, you already, it's already in your mind that no one can tell you anything. You already made your mind up. So a lot of times when we talk to Negroes, we already know and dispensing knowledge. We already know the majority of y'all made your mind up. The cult teachings have a fine groove in your head. I don't watch Negroes go into a stream of recorded message, cult messages. I watched it. What do I mean by that? When you say something that's outside that box, you could almost see our people, any white people, black people, you see anybody, their mind goes blank. They'll either walk away from you, especially when we was like talking about what MENTELLECT was and the state of MENTELLECT. Their minds went blank, and they either walked away or they got confused, or they just like what you heard basically that night when we was doing the when we did the when the guys called in and we did the could black men actually run their own can black men independently govern their own society? I forget what the title was that broadcast, but could black men govern their own society or govern their own, have their own government, whatever, in this society? Yeah, brothers call in, and we told them what we were dealing with, the knowledge of MENTELLECT and things like that, and they never heard of it before, and and they were stuck. These were educated brothers that were stuck. Now, I'm not calling these brothers dumb or anything. I would never do that. I don't call nobody dumb or stupid. It's just that they were indoctrinated with cult teaching, American pop culture teaching. They were used to being loaded down with information. You understand? They were used to being loaded down with information, useless information. So when intelligence came in, they didn't know how to receive it. That's what information does. It deadens your mind. That's why they put out all these books all the time, and it's useless crap. You take all of this in, and you do nothing with it. The black man and black woman are weighed down by information. They're weighed down by it. They can do nothing with it. Notice how all these people, the so-called conscious, and all these Negroes done consumed all this information, and how has it changed their life? When I told the Negro, I was trying to explain to him a little bit about the Superman, Superwoman project, and he basically, the one kept telling me that, I don't belong to any of these groups or any of these, I'm not part of any of this class system and whatnot, because I guess the Negro, he that's his word, that's his catchphrase, classes or classism. He said he don't belong to that, but I'm like, yeah, you do, because like I said, if I could find 60 or 70 other people, you understand, and thousands of people way before you came here that thought the same exact thing, then you came on the scene and you belong to a class. They got a box of Negroes just like you, a box of white people. They got a box of people who are disconnected, say they're not part of society when you actually are. You understand? You're not doing anything outside the box. You understand? Our people, like I said, those type of people, they've already made their mind up. They close their mind off. That's cult teaching. What happens when you try to tell somebody who's in a cult about something, or trying to get to them and and try to explain or reason something to them? They just totally lock you out, right? No matter how irrational what they're saying is, they just totally lock you out. You try to tell these Negroes that there's some new knowledge coming from beyond the sun, that there's new knowledge on the planet, they'll look at you like you crazy. There's nothing new under the sun. Okay, well, if there's nothing new under the sun, then why does the word new even exist? The word new, all words exist for a reason. If there was no such thing as new knowledge or new anything or new, or just even putting the word new to something, because new precedes old. So knowledge that you come in contact with, things that weren't here, because I gave the Negro the analogy, this guy who told me there's nothing new in the sun, I said, where did all the inventions come from, the technology? I said, there was no line leading up to that. This guy tried to tell me last night, because I brought about the Wright brothers and the airplane. And I said there was no technology leading up to the airplane from 1899 going back. I said the Wright brothers came with the plane in 1903, so an image was generated into their head to receive higher knowledge. from a higher source, an advanced race of people in the future, because the plane existed in the future. So therefore, someone generated that image in his head, a person. It's not metaphysics. This is mentellect, that some mental being, some mental force, a being, a person, you understand? An intelligent race. We say mentellect, mental beings, people, generated images into people, highly advanced mental people, generated images into, from the future, generated images into present state people or past people to get a mental evolution started on this planet. You know what this Negro going to tell me? Well, maybe he was looking at a bird and then he thought about, maybe it could be a plane. What? Who thinks that? Who thinks, by looking at the bird, I want to fly on a plane? You might think, I'm going to fly like the bird, but you ain't going to think about no plane. Somebody generated that image there. And I said, what made him different from everybody else who didn't think that way? He was just pulling out of his ass about, a bird, and he saw a bird. I said, what did he say that he said they saw a bird, and that's where they got the idea from the plane? Oh, well, I'm just saying, though, that could have happened. Okay, that's you speculating. You understand? What I'm saying is reality, because you get inspiration. You get images. Images are based on your imagination. And somebody draws, and how you get images in your head is by someone generating a picture there, sending you a message. That's mentally. Why are you chosen to receive a certain image versus the majority of people around you who are not? That's mentally. But the Negro couldn't conceive that because he's had cult teaching. He has been loaded down with information. That nigga is off, just like the majority of our people are off mentally. So when someone like me pops on the scene and I'm teaching mentellect, for the 1%, those who are going to generate images of future intelligence into their head in this present state, pulling these people together, he's like, because he, like I said, in his cult teaching, a nigga can't teach me nothing. So he already made his mind up. So no, it ain't for you. So I stopped talking to you. I told him I came for the 1%, not for you. Because he kept asking me, well, why did you put it at, at people 42 and under? I said because the people 42 and under, they tend to be more open-minded. Even though this nigga was 39, and I said, yeah, you've been poisoned. You've been poisoned with information. You've been poisoned with lectures in the conscious community and niggas sitting around telling you the same thing over and over again in rotation. That's cult teaching. Egypt is in Africa. And how many times you got to hear that? How many times you got to keep hearing the same stuff, reading the same books? So much so that messes up your mind because now you are desensitized to new knowledge. When you hear it, you can't even differentiate because you think it's all the same. Because you went and you listened to that stuff in a rotation and you looking to hear the same thing. It's like a person who eats fast food. If that person will keep eating fast food and become addicted to it and be dying and still be eating it, but when you introduce something healthy to him, his body he'll want to reject it. Even though it'll help his body, he'll want to reject it. That's the same thing. That's how cult teaching works. It gets you dependent on it. You black people in America can't think for yourself because you're raised on cult teachings. You're raised on an educational system that teaches you what to think. You understand? Doesn't teach you how to think. It doesn't teach you how to use your intelligence. You understand? It teaches you what to think. You got people programming your way of thinking. That's cult teaching. You receive your cult teaching 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You live in a cult society. Culture, an American pop cultural society. That's real. So for all you niggas that sit here and talk that nonsense and you repeat it like a good bunch of parrots, that you heard from the white man, I think he in a cult, son. Yeah, he's in a cult. It sounds like, this black, I think they have a cult going. Nigga, you in a cult every day. You in a cult every day. You go to your office, when you sitting waiting on your 401k plan, when you talking about some stupidity on TV or what you saw in the magazine, that's cult teaching. The hell you talking about? You just ain't smart enough to figure it out yet. that they giving you cult teachings to keep you niggas, your minds at a certain level, a submental level, whereas you can't hear anything else beyond your submental level. You can't think outside the box. You're trapped by your cult teaching. You've been thoroughly brainwashed from the time you were born up until this point. So when knowledge enters, you reject it. You reject it because you got Pan-Africanism. You reject it because you got Egyptology. You reject it because you got metaphysics, Freemasonry. You got all this nonsense. All this last millennium nonsense is put here. You got conspiracy theory now. Everything is fed to you on a neat little plate, and you niggas consume it. Y'all consume it. Every day you consume this garbage. You sit in these little classes and you listen to this nonsense. You consume it. You listen to the same thing over and over again. That's a program. That's a rotation. That's cult teaching, cult-style teaching, cultural-style teaching. The foundations of a cult is culture and tradition. That's the foundation of a cult. We don't do things in rotation, like I said in the state of MENTELLECT. We don't do things in rotation. That's what makes us different. We do things in a straight line. We present knowledge to our people where there's no point of return, meaning that we won't be repeating the same things over and over again in a ritualistic state. Like I said, for those of you who have been thoroughly indoctrinated, brainwashed with your cult teaching, this is beyond you. This is beyond you. It's not for you. It's not for the black race. The black race is just like everybody else. Was a time where people, well, it's always gonna be an elect people. That's why you have the terminology elect. I had some brother tell me, he said, "Well, damn man, I wish it was more of us, more of the elect." I said, don't wish for that. Don't wish for that. Don't wish for more of a. Our people are where they are. Whether it's 100,000 people, our people are all over the world. My job is just to bring them together in one mind frame, on a higher level, outside the box. Our people are speaking Spanish. Our people are speaking English. Our people are all over the planet. Primary language, English. Now, the whole thing of wanting everybody to be down, it's not supposed to be like that. That's why you're going to be elect beings walking amongst regular beings. Supreme beings walking amongst regular beings. You understand? How is it possible for you to receive higher knowledge and advance yourself? By having just as many people or more people who are not receiving. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is the more people receive it, the more it zaps your energy. See, it's like if all this knowledge is streaming through and you're the only one using it, then you become powerful. That's what makes the gods different from man, because they absorb all of the knowledge. Thus, their brain is working stronger to receive intelligence. Their mind or their mental connection is expanding, so they're receiving higher intelligence, which puts them ahead of everybody else who's thinking on a low submental vibration or a submental frequency. It puts them ahead of everybody. That's how you become gods among men. That's how you start discovering things while you got certain people still sitting around talking about magic. You understand? You already know the knowledge of what that really is because your way of thinking is advanced. You understand? Unfortunately, you have people who play with people who, they come up with childlike terminologies like magic. And people will sit up here and go, it's not magic because they appeal to your childlike mentality. It's just higher knowledge that people are not aware of yet. That's all. Future knowledge that we're supposed to be pulling in as mentalists. You have to make yourself a ray or a receiver, like I said, a receptionist. That's possible. That is possible. Those people who are thinking on a higher level, they're going to listen to it. Those people who are stuck in Egypt is in Africa, Black Power, red, black, and green, the Ankh, when the next meeting. That for those people whose brains are speeding up, don't that stuff just seem just real, just slow and redundant? I'm like, damn. I thought, and more people is coming to listen to me. Y'all starting to see it. You're starting to see it. It's just like a slow rotation, a slow vibration of nothing. It's not sparking you to think. Real intelligence going into your mind, thinking outside the box and actually make you faster, can actually make you more youthful, can actually at certain points reverse your aging process, get you looking younger. You understand? Intelligence can sustain you. Intelligence can revive you. Because you walk around, a lot of you walk around looking older than what you are and looking like zombies and whatnot, because you being weighed down by information and limited ways of thinking and just limited people. While you being weighed down by limited people, it actually puts an aging on your body. It ages you. You looking old and beat up. A lot of you black women, I seen guys, I look at the Israelites. Now these guys constantly with the Bible in rotation all the time. And I look at these guys, and these guys are bald. They're going bald. These guys look beat up. They look toe up. I'm like, shoot. I'm like, damn. And I hear these guys sound old. They're younger than me. You understand? They're younger than me. I'm 41. These guys are like in their 30s. I'm like, damn, these dudes look like I thought they was going into their 50s. Why? Because they are constantly consuming nonsense, a rotation of old ways of thinking. Same thing over and over again. Nothing's changing. If you keep eating the same thing over and over and over again, if you keep consuming the same thing over and over again, after a while it's going to wear you down. You need to feed on new things, new knowledge, new intelligence, not old information like they constantly do in the Bible. These guys stay reading the same thing. They say the same thing. The white man going into slavery, he going into bondage, blah, 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 blah. You women ain't it, and all this other stuff. The same thing over and over again in a rotation because they can't think beyond that. That is cult programming. That's cult teaching. Cultural teaching. Cultural teaching is slave teaching. I'm going to say it again. Cultural teaching is slave teaching. God damn it. Slave teaching. Pan-Africanism. Islam. Judaism. Christianity. You understand that? Metaphysics. Freemasonry. Moorish science. That's cult teaching. Because it's based in culture. It's based in culture. Anything based in culture and tradition is slave teaching. Because what that does is it locks you into a certain way of thinking, into a certain way of rituals. So now you can't go beyond that. You got to keep walking around with a goddamn 9-inch beard on your face because that's tradition. You black men have to walk around dyeing your beard red, looking like a bunch of damn maniacs. You understand? You got black men walking around with red beard. Why? Because they following tradition. That's cult teaching. Cultural teaching. Tells them to dye their beard red. Why are you doing that? Go, because somebody named Muhammad did it. Okay, so, right, okay. That's excuse. But I thought you followed God. No, you follow a man. Well, God said don't shave your beard. Why would God say that? If God told you not, if God said a man should have a beard, then why are certain men born without beard? Did God say that or did some man say that? I think some man said that. Yeah, in fact, I know some man said that in a tradition, in a cult, or AKA cultural mindset, to keep you people moving in a box. Some man thought, I think men should wear beards on their face. I'm not saying, like I said, that's man-made teaching. Those are people who don't vibrate on a higher frequency. You understand that? Because, like I said, men were all meant to have beards, and what about men who were born without beards, who don't have any beards? And they say, it's womanly for a man not to have no hair on his face. You got faggots with beards. So what about your Greeks? Your Greeks had beards, and they was homos. So now what you gonna say? Man-made teaching, cult teaching, cultural teaching, slave teaching. It translates into the same thing. Anything that doesn't further your intelligence. Because to further your intelligence is God-like. That's supreme knowledge, supreme intelligence. Anything that locks you into a rotation, that's man. That's cult teaching, cultural teaching, slave teaching. Cult teaching equals slave teaching. Because it doesn't allow you to expand your way of thinking. Mentellect came to our people in this day and time in the new millennium, 12 years into the new millennium, but it was gradually being built up until it was born to move our people and to open up our minds to receive higher intelligence, to expand our thinking. And you know what? A lot of Negroes going to be against it. A lot of our people, our so-called people, our so-called people. That's why I don't claim our people no more. You understand? Because they'll be against it. You black men, y'all want to get proud. There ain't nothing new under the sun. Well, what this nigga know that I don't know? There ain't nothing new under the sun. Well, I'm not getting it. Why, what book you got that out of? Cult teaching. Cult mentality. Good slave. You black women do the same thing. Ain't no black man. What scam he run? That's the first thing you know. You can see the in a black woman's face. Those of you in tune, you get a black woman, you can see it in her face. What scam he running? I ain't gonna learn that. Let a white man give him something. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you. Cult teaching. Cult teaching. Because you acknowledge it. You think that they have something more to give you. When it's the same brainwashing you've been receiving. Your brainwashed teachings, occult teachings that you receive constantly, daily. Ritual, spiritual, special ritual. Like I said, you people crack me up when y'all go, I'm spiritual. I don't, I believe in God, but I'm not part of a religion. I'm spiritual. That's cult teaching. There's no spiritual. That's something that was created in the cult. Spookism, ghosts, unseen things. All things that really do exist are supposed to pick up in the senses. If you can't smell it, if you can't see it, if you can't taste it, it's supposed to make contact with one of your senses. Your main sense that it's going to make contact with, your number one sense that all real things make contact with is touch. Your sight works on touch because light has to hit your cornea, all right, to flip it upside down, produce a picture with the rotation of those 6 muscles in your eye. Okay? When you hear something, a sound, it has to hit your eardrum. Right? When you smell something, it has to register with your nasal cap in some way. Even if you don't smell it, if it don't have no odor, when it kills you, it obviously registered somewhere. If a gas kills you, it obviously registered somewhere. So it all touches something. Higher knowledge for the advanced thinker will touch you in your sensitive spot, which is your mind. Certain centers in your brain will be opened up with the knowledge of mentellect. Those of you who are of the 1%, those of you who are moving outside the box and are opening up to an evolutionary mindset. Those of you who have already made your mind up, you Negroes that made your mind up, who basically come, ain't nothing new in the because you niggas are proud. You come with egos because can't no black man teach me nothing. And you black when y'all say, what scam he running? Like I said, that's not for you. Don't judge the intelligence. Don't limit your intelligence by these people. And this is the majority of your people, your family, your friends, your boyfriends, your girlfriends. Don't limit your intelligence by these people because they are part of a cult. They sit up here and call. They'll say you a cult for thinking outside the box, but they are actually a cult because they think in a box. The people who think in a box in this society, in this American pop culture, and all the things you do, you Nike wearers, you baseball cappers, all you guys, y'all think in a cult. That's a cult. You understand? That's a cult. But like I said, you think otherwise. You would think it's something else. They're good at making you think a certain way, programming, tweaking you. You understand? To get a certain response, to get you to think in a certain limitation. Everything is focused on getting you to think in a certain limitation. And y'all always do. We'll be right back. I'll play a little jazz note. They prove to you that Pan-Africanism is a part of cult teaching, pop cultural teaching in the society that is sanctioned. When that white man was sitting up there with a dashiki on and African headdress on and all that stuff, and he was teaching black people out at the African burial grounds down here in Manhattan about Pan-Africanism and the African diaspora and the slave trade and all that. That proved to you that would sanction cult teaching. That proved it, because they can do it. Can you imagine Jews sitting there and listening to a black man teach on the Holocaust or on Jewish history? They'd get up and walk out. So just like how, a white man could be part of 5%ers or any other race could be part of it, that proves that when you allow everybody into your cake, when you allow all these ingredients into your cake, I don't care if you sharing a religion, you Moors are sharing Islam with the Arabs and whatever. If y'all believe in the same God and everything else, then you're part of the cult teaching. You're part of this greater populace or this cult thing, because you fall into line with these teachings within the box. It's only when something is personally yours, something is flag, whatever is personally yours, you don't fall in. You're not part of the cult. You're not a cult. You're not based on traditions and culture. Y'all refer to y'all thing as culture. You said Islam is a culture. So then you're a cult. You have a rotation. You believe in ciphers and rotations and things like that. Then you think in a rotation. You're a cult. It is what it is. That's the truth. That's the definition of a cult. The real definition of a cult. It fits within the box and in the framework of this society. It does fit. It's not outside the box. If it's not outside the box, if it's not beyond the sun or something higher, then it fits into cult teaching. Straight up. So I'm gonna tell my people the truth. I'm gonna sit up here and lie to y'all. And you know what? I don't have anything against the powers that be, with whether you call them Illuminati, whatever. I got no problem with them teaching cult teaching. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with the cult. I have no problem with the homosexuality. None of this stuff they pushing here in this society. I don't got no problem with it. Reason why I say that is because I believe everybody should be free to do and make any choice they want to make. If you want to be gay, that's fine. I ain't got to agree with it. Matter of fact, that's fine. Go ahead. I don't agree with it, but hey, do your thing. If you want to follow these religious teachings, go ahead. That's fine. Do your thing. We don't want everybody with us in the state of Mentel. We don't want everybody. This ain't for everybody. This is only for the 1%. I ain't trying to convince nobody. I want to make that clear. I'm not trying to convince anybody or convert anybody. I'm not trying to bash anybody's lifestyle. I'm not against the Illuminati. If y'all want to teach this cult teaching here, y'all can do that. It's only going to be certain people that's going to accept it anyway. Just like it's only going to be certain people that's going to accept what I teach. That's fine. It's room for everybody. Some people going to go, oh, it's a bunch of BS. That's fine. It ain't for you. You ain't supposed to accept. You're not supposed to receive it. It's too high. The frequency is too high. It's outside the box. You're not supposed to receive it. You blunt smokers and what, it's not for you. It's for the people. It's for my people. I drop MENTELLECT and the knowledge of MENTELLECT for the elect who are amongst you. That's why I say I'm not here for the black race. I'm not here to convince and convert and raise the black race. I'm here to raise the elect from amongst the black race. That's why I do this radio broadcast. That's why I do the Superman, Superwoman Project, which is going to be taking place again May 20th, this Sunday, at the Bed-Stuy Restoration Plaza, 1368 Fulton Street, Brooklyn, New York. Number is 347-465-3602. All right? Or 718-510-3769. Like I said, I don't got nothing against nobody. People, they can sit up here and say, oh, what you teaching is BS and whatnot. Yeah, but you can't prove that it's BS. You can't deal with it straight up head-to-head, so you can sit up here and scoff and call it names because you're not receiving it. It ain't for you. It's for the ones who think on a higher level. We don't judge or do what we do based on scoffers and limited people. Our knowledge is based in dealing with advanced intelligence, and everybody's not going to advance. That's just what it is. Certain people are meant to think in a rotation. Certain people are meant to be fed cult-like teaching. There's a reason for everything. There's a reason why certain people are only going to vibrate on a certain mental frequency, and certain people are going to vibrate on a higher mental frequency. You got to have the elect, and you have to have the elite, who are amongst the rest of the sheeple or the cattle. Most of you Negroes are cattle. The majority of you are cattle. You don't think. It's impossible for you to think. You're not. Now you Negroes are just animated. You're just reacting. You're not thinking. You understand? You're reactionary. You understand that? You're animated people. They done took you down to the level of animals because you do the same things that animals do. The difference that was supposed to be from men to human to mankind to the almond being is thought level. When the white man says, act like a man, when he tells people, I want you to act like a man, just when you say something like that, you saying that you're not really a man because you're acting like a man. That means you're acting like something higher. When the Black Panthers and all them revolutionary groups kept calling the white man the man, right? When he said the man is on our ass, remember the Black Panthers and the revolutionary, the man, the man, the man. That was cult programming. Y'all didn't even see it. What was being done? They were being programmed to think of him as higher. He's the man. So if he's the man, then what are you? Why are you referring to him as the man? I thought you were supposed to be the man. If he's the man, if he's the authority, if he's over you like God, he's the man, then what are you? What are you? A lot of people who you think in blackface to help you are really not. They're here to keep the cult-like teaching going. They're here to keep you thinking in the rotation, to keep you thinking the rotation, on a submental level. And they'll pay people to keep that going. Like I said, certain ones of our people, they'll accept this knowledge. Certain ones of our people won't. The majority, hopefully, I don't want the majority to accept it. I really don't. I don't want the majority with it. You understand? Because then you got to fall into trying to, the more people come into a group, the more you have to shape the teaching or the knowledge to fit people, and we're not doing that. We're not shaping the teaching to fit anybody what you like, or because you don't like this and you don't like how this is said, then don't listen. Don't listen. Like I said, people free to do whatever they want. You ain't got to accept what I'm teaching. But for those of you who are looking to advance mentally, who are looking to bring about a new change or a new dynamic and a new evolution in yourself and in your future seed or your bloodline or your children to break off from the black race, which is going nowhere, then I submit the knowledge of MENTELLECT to my people. That is going to bring the evolution of our people for those of us who are in tune. Like I said, I know a lot of you Negroes, y'all don't acknowledge it because, like I said, it's not your typical cult teaching. It's not typical. It's not cult teaching. We was talking about Egypt and Africa and things like that, then you would readily accept that. That's easier for you to swallow. But when you're dealing with something that's outside the box, things that's going to actually bring a change to you mentally and physically in time, you are readily trained not to accept that. You are trained not to accept change. And what's the only real thing in life? Change. So if you don't accept the only real thing in life, which is change, then you are going against your nature. I'm going to say it again. Change is the only real. Don't the white man say that they said in society? Change is the only thing that's real. If you don't acknowledge anything else is real tonight, change is the only thing that's real. What's changing in your life? What's really changing in your life? You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. You're saying the same things over and over and over again. You're going to the same places and the same conferences, same meetings, events, gather over and over and over again. So what's changing in your life? Obviously, if change is the only real thing in your life, then that means that you're not real, that your life is not real because it's not changing. There's no evolution. So to that guy who sat up there and talking about, well, I ain't part of, my mind is on an advanced level. What are you doing that's different every day? That's my question today. That was my question. What are you doing that's different? Because if your mind is vibrating on a higher mental frequency, then that means you're supposed to be doing things differently. You're supposed to be doing things in an advanced state. You're not supposed to be coming out here doing the same thing on the corner, the same thing, selling the same stuff, setting up. Your business should be on a higher level. You should be on move to another level. Oh, well, and I ain't worried about money, then stop selling anything. You understand? Obviously, you doing it for money. You selling things for money. You know? Money's a tool. You do need it. We don't vibrate on the money thing, but we understand it in the purpose and the that it's in, that it's a tool to be used and utilized. So everything works in that method. You understand that? Everything works in this vibration. Everything works in a rotation. Remember that. Think about that. Everything works in that rotation. Frequency. All these things, your cult teaching that you receive every day here in this society works on pixels in your television, works on frequency, everything. Now, I'm not saying tune out and don't watch TV no more. I'm not saying that. I said watch everything. Understand? Till you can't take it. Watch everything. Make everything around you as though you're looking. That's how I see everything. Everything looks like it's in a cage to me now. Everything looks like, I feel detached. After a while, once you start to raise in intelligence, once you start receiving higher knowledge, advanced knowledge, this knowledge and intellect, you're going to start to feel detached from everything. You're going to feel above it. It's going to seem childlike to you. That's what advanced knowledge is supposed to do. That's what knowledge outside the box is going to do. It's going to make you start to see the physical box. You're going to start to see the physical limitations, the mental limitations of people. We see it so clearly. It's so defined that it's scary. Cult teaching. We're going to wrap it up. Join us Friday when we speak about the mental sex power. We're going to talk about solar sex. Best time to have sex. Connect mentally. Have sex when the sun is highest and its highest point. Guarantee the sex is better. I tried it. It's playing funny. I got a little bit of jokes tonight, but that went it. Me babbling a little bit. Join us Friday night. I'm tired. Join us Friday night at 9 o'clock. The mental sex show. We're gonna talk about animal magnetism, what it really is, versus almond magnetism, or MENTELLECT magnetism when it comes to sex. Sex at its highest solar point. All that. We're gonna go into all that. Friday night at 9. I am the intellectual Nuben Menkares, and this has been State of Mentel Radio. Good night.